The alien queen asked, "Do you desire my daughter?" My answer brought tears to her eyes. From orbit, the planet looked like a jewel, a swirl of blue oceans, emerald forests, and silver mountains that shimmered under the light of its three suns. Elias Trask, the human ambassador, leaned forward in his seat, his fingers lightly brushing the armrest. He could feel the weight of the mission pressing on him. This was not just a diplomatic journey, this was a test for humanity itself. "Approaching atmosphere," the pilot's calm voice said over the intercom. Elias nodded, gripping his seat. He had prepared for every possible scenario: negotiations, cultural misunderstandings, even potential threats. But nothing could have fully prepared him for the first glimpse of Zithara's surface. Vast cities floated in the sky, their architecture unlike anything humans had ever built. Buildings made of translucent crystal, curving and spiraling like living organisms. Rivers of light moved like ribbons between them, carrying ships that hovered silently without engines. "Remarkable," Elias whispered to himself. The shuttle passed through the thin, shimmering atmosphere, and the city below grew larger, revealing terraces covered in gardens, waterfalls that fell upward in defiance of gravity, and creatures with iridescent skin moving gracefully along the platforms. These were the Zitharans, the ruling species of this extraordinary world. Elias had read their files. They were intelligent, ancient, and known across the galaxy for their mastery of science, art, and diplomacy. But what truly set them apart was their strict code of honor. Any misstep could be disastrous. The shuttle touched down softly on a platform that extended from one of the floating cities. The surface was smooth and cool under Elias' feet. As the ramp descended, he took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. The air smelled different, clean, slightly sweet, with a faint metallic note, unlike anything on Earth. The sky above was tinted in soft shades of lavender and gold, and the three suns hung low, casting long shadows that shifted in unusual patterns. Elias stepped forward, his formal black uniform crisp against the strange light. He was met immediately by two Zitharans. They were taller than humans, slender, with long limbs and luminous eyes that seemed to see through everything. Their skin had a subtle shimmer like liquid glass in sunlight. They bowed gracefully, a motion so fluid it was almost hypnotic. "Ambassador Elias Trask," one of them said in a voice that was melodic yet firm. "Welcome to Zithara. I am Lorien, Chief of Ceremonial Reception." "You are expected by Queen Lyria herself." Elias nodded, returning the bow as best he could. "Thank you, Lorien. It is an honor to be here." Lorien's eyes flicked to the shuttle. "Your vessel is acceptable, but Zitharan laws require all visitors to leave technology behind until granted permission. Please follow me." Elias allowed himself a small smile. The rules were strict but not unreasonable. He stepped after Lorien, and the two glided effortlessly through the floating pathways. Below, he could see vast chasms filled with clouds and distant waterfalls that fell into nothingness, their mist catching the sunlight in a rainbow of colors. It felt like walking in a dream. As they moved, Elias noticed a hum in the air, a vibration that was subtle but constant, like the heartbeat of the city. He remembered reading that Zitharan cities were alive in a sense, powered by energy drawn directly from the planet's magnetic fields. The people had learned to synchronize their structures with natural forces, creating harmony between technology and nature. After what seemed like hours, though it was only minutes, they arrived at the gates of a palace that rose higher than any building he had ever seen. Its surface gleamed like liquid crystal, reflecting the three suns in brilliant patterns. The doors, massive yet delicate, opened silently at Lorien's approach. Inside, the palace was even more breathtaking. Light flowed along the walls in ribbons, and floors were transparent in places, revealing layers of gardens and waterfalls beneath. Every surface shimmered with color, and the air was filled with the soft music of instruments that seemed alive, responding to movement and emotion. Elias felt a mix of awe and caution. Diplomacy with Zitharans was delicate. One wrong gesture or word could undo a mission months in the making. He straightened his posture and followed Lorien through the grand hall, where Zitharans gathered in small clusters, speaking in their melodic language. They paused to glance at him, their eyes sharp but not hostile. Finally, they reached the throne room. The doors opened, and Elias' breath caught in his throat. There she sat, Queen Lyria, ruler of Zithara. Her presence was commanding, yet there was a serenity to her, as if she could see the entire universe at once and weigh the value of every life. Her skin shimmered like liquid moonlight, and her eyes, deep and knowing, seemed to pierce through Ilia's very soul. Behind her, the throne was carved from a single piece of crystal that curved like a wave frozen in time. The sunlight streaming through the palace windows danced across her form, creating an aura that was both majestic and intimidating. "You are Ilia's Trask, ambassador of Earth," she said, her voice rich and resonant. "You come seeking alliance. Why should Zithra trust humans?" Ilias swallowed hard. This was the moment where diplomacy and honesty had to meet. He bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, humanity has faced many challenges in our history. We are flawed, but we are also capable of courage, creativity, and loyalty. I come to Zithra not only to seek alliance, but to offer partnership. Together, we can face the dangers that threaten all of our worlds." Queen Lyria's eyes narrowed slightly. "Words are easy. Actions define a species. You will stay on Zithra. You will learn our ways. Only then will I judge if humans are worthy of trust." Ilias nodded. "I accept your Majesty." At that moment, the doors to the throne room opened again, and a figure stepped forward, Princess Sira, the queen's daughter. She moved with grace, her presence softer than her mother's but no less powerful. Her eyes were bright, curious, and intelligent, and they rested on Ilias with a mixture of caution and interest. "Welcome, ambassador," Sira said. Her voice was musical, gentle, yet firm. "You have entered a world very different from your own. Every step you take will be watched, every word measured. But know this, Zithra values honesty above all. Deceit will be punished. Integrity will be rewarded." Ilias inclined his head. "Thank you, Princess. I intend to honor your people." For a moment, there was silence. The hum of the palace seemed louder, and Ilias felt the weight of the eyes of everyone present upon him. The queen studied him carefully, as though trying to see not only his thoughts, but his potential, his essence. Finally, she spoke, her voice softer now, yet with a sharp edge. "Tomorrow we begin your trial. You will see Zithra as it truly is, and you will show whether humans can survive here, not just in body, but in mind and spirit. Fail, and you will return to your world empty-handed. Succeed, and perhaps trust can be built." Ilias nodded. "I will do my best, your Majesty." Queen Lyria's gaze softened just a fraction, enough for Ilias to notice. "I hope your best is enough," she said. "Zithra is not a world to be underestimated. Many who have tried to conquer it have failed, and many who have come seeking alliance have faltered. Remember, ambassador, strength alone does not define a species. Courage, wisdom, and heart matter more." With that, the audience ended. Ilias was escorted to quarters designed to make him comfortable, yet remind him constantly of the alien world he had entered. The room overlooked floating gardens and cascading waterfalls. He sat by the window, thinking of the journey ahead. He was far from home, surrounded by beings more advanced and alien than he had ever imagined. And yet, in that moment, he felt a spark of hope. Humans had survived against great odds before. They had solved problems no one else could, adapted when others failed, and shown courage when all seemed lost. Ilias realized that this mission would demand everything he had: intellect, patience, courage, and empathy. The Queen's test would be more than physical. It would challenge his heart and mind. He closed his eyes, imagining the vast possibilities, and whispered to himself, "Humanity can do this. We must." Outside, the suns of Zithra began to set, painting the sky in hues of violet and gold. In the distance, the floating city shimmered like a dream, a reminder that the greatest adventures often begin in worlds far from home. Tomorrow, the true test would begin. The morning on Zithra arrived quietly, the three suns rising in staggered brilliance, bathing the floating city in soft shades of pink, gold, and lavender. Ilias Trask stood at the edge of his balcony, staring out at the dizzying expanse of gardens, waterfalls, and crystal towers below. The view was beautiful, almost unreal, but he felt no time for admiration. Today was the day of his first real test, a challenge designed by Queen Lyria to measure the true character of humans. The shuttle ride through Zithra's lower city layers had given Ilias a glimpse of the everyday life of the Zithrans. Citizens glided gracefully through streets that hovered in the air, and children played on platforms that moved up and down like gentle elevators. The harmony between nature and technology was unlike anything on Earth. Yet the serenity of the city did not calm Ilias' nerves. A soft chime sounded from his quarters. Lorien, the chief of ceremonial reception, appeared at the door, as fluid and elegant as ever. "Ambassador Ilias Trask, it is time," Lorien said. His voice, melodic but firm, carried no trace of amusement or warmth. Queen Lyria awaits you at the trial grounds. Be mindful, for today is more than a test of courage. It is a test of your mind, spirit, and heart. Elias nodded, straightening his uniform. I understand. I am ready. They moved together through the palace corridors, passing under ceilings that shimmered like liquid crystal. Every step Elias took seemed to echo softly in the vast halls, yet he felt eyes upon him, curious, watchful, assessing. It was clear that nothing in Zithra went unnoticed. At the heart of the city, Lorien led him to a vast platform that extended over a cloud-filled chasm. Suspended above the mist were the trial grounds, a sprawling labyrinth of floating paths, bridges, and crystalline structures. The paths twisted and turned unpredictably, some moving subtly as if they were alive. Queen Lyria waited at the entrance, her expression as composed as ever. Beside her stood Princess Sira, whose gaze held both curiosity and quiet amusement. Ambassador, the Queen began, her voice ringing across the open space, today you will navigate the labyrinth of Zithra. It is not enough to survive physically. You must demonstrate understanding, intelligence, and compassion. Many have entered this labyrinth and failed to return, not because it was impossible, but because they could not align mind and spirit with the challenge. Elias felt a surge of tension. The stakes were high. Failure would not only end his mission, but could also sour the fragile possibility of alliance between humans and Zitharans. Your trial begins when you step onto the first platform, the Queen continued. Your path is not marked. Every choice you make will reveal your character. Beware of illusions and trust in your mind as well as your heart. Go now. With a deep breath, Elias stepped forward. The first platform was smooth and transparent, stretching over a void that shimmered with shifting colors. A wrong step could send him into a deep drop, though the labyrinth itself was said to protect those with pure intent. He took one careful step after another, noting the subtle vibrations beneath his feet. The platform seemed almost alive, adjusting minutely to each motion. Elias realized that the labyrinth was more than a series of physical obstacles. It was a test of perception and judgment. Soon, he reached a fork in the path. One bridge curved upward steeply, crystalline and glittering, the other sloped downward into a faint mist. He paused, studying the vibrations and light patterns of each option. The upward path seemed dazzling but risky, the lower path felt grounded but uncertain. Remembering the Queen's words, he focused on careful observation and trust in instinct. He chose the lower path. As he walked, he noticed small symbols etched into the surface of the platform, glowing faintly. They appeared almost like a language he could not read. Yet by intuition, he sensed they were hints, signs to guide the traveler with pure intent. Elias slowed, interpreting each symbol with patience, moving deliberately and respectfully. Suddenly, a moving barrier appeared ahead, a wall of shifting light. Elias froze. Many humans might have panicked, but he reminded himself that this was a test of mind and heart. Slowly, he approached, analyzing patterns in the light. Timing his steps carefully, he passed through the barrier, feeling the barrier ripple around him rather than strike. A soft glow indicated he had succeeded. The path widened, revealing a chamber filled with Zitharan flora unlike anything on Earth. Plants with translucent leaves glowed faintly, flowers opened and closed rhythmically, and streams of water floated through the air. Elias marveled, but he remained cautious. Some Zitharan trials were known to tempt travelers with beauty, lulling them into distraction. Then came the first major challenge. A narrow bridge stretched over a deep chasm, and a Zitharan child stood at the other end, trapped in a floating pod that wavered perilously over the abyss. Elias could sense the child's fear, even though it did not speak in words humans could understand. The instinct to save the child surged within him. Humans were often driven by empathy and immediate action, yet Elias knew rash movements could endanger both of them. He carefully extended his hand, calculating the safest approach, and spoke softly, "I am here to help. Trust me." The child moved slightly unsure, but Elias' calm voice and steady actions reassured it. With patience and precision, he guided the child back to solid ground. As soon as the child was safe, the pod transformed into a bridge, glowing brightly to lead him onward. Elias realized that his compassion had directly influenced the labyrinth itself. Further into the labyrinth, he encountered puzzles designed to test intellect. Symbols floated in the air, shifting constantly, requiring him to form sequences, decode patterns, and anticipate outcomes. Each puzzle demanded flexibility and creativity, traits humans often underestimated in themselves. Elias worked carefully, taking time to observe, think, and act, never rushing. Hours seemed to pass. He climbed bridges that twisted impossibly, crossed platforms that moved like waves, and stepped over chasms where clouds swirled below. He began to notice subtle signs of Princess Sira's influence. Small objects, symbols, or light patterns suggested she was watching, guiding, and perhaps even testing his responses indirectly. By mid-afternoon, the challenge grew more intense. A sudden storm of light and wind erupted around him, forming illusions of creatures and threats that were not real. Humans could have panicked at such sights, but Elias took a deep breath and focused on what he knew. Illusions could not harm the heart or mind if intent was true. He walked steadily, ignoring fear, and reached the calm center of the storm. There, waiting on a stable platform, was Princess Sira. She had a faint smile on her face, her curiosity shining in her eyes. "You have done well, Ambassador," she said. "Many travelers falter here, overwhelmed by illusion or doubt. You have shown courage and composure. But one more challenge remains, the test of collaboration." Elias followed her to a vast chamber where two platforms hovered side by side, each controlled by a separate person. On one, a Zitharan child, and on the other, Elias. Between them floated an intricate puzzle of lights, pathways, and symbols. Both had to act together, communicating and anticipating the other's moves to solve it. This test, Princess Sira explained, was not just about intellect but empathy, understanding, and trust. Elias studied the child's actions, carefully responding in a way that synchronized perfectly. Each correct step lit part of the puzzle, and slowly the complex mechanism unlocked a door to the final chamber. When they entered, Queen Lyria stood waiting. Her expression was neutral, yet Elias sensed approval beneath the surface. The queen's eyes swept over him. "You have completed the labyrinth of Zithara," she said. "Few humans would have endured so long, balanced intellect, heart, and courage in equal measure. You have proven that humans are capable of qualities Zitharans often do not expect: adaptability, empathy, and persistence. These are the traits of a species that can be trusted, perhaps even respected." Elias bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I have only acted with honesty and purpose." Queen Lyria regarded him silently for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Your actions today speak louder than words ever could. You have honorably represented your species. But remember, Ambassador, trust is earned in many ways. Today you have begun that journey." Princess Sira stepped forward, offering Elias a small, respectful nod. "You have shown that humans are more than their technology or strength. Your mind and heart are your greatest tools. That is something Zitharans must see and understand." Elias felt a surge of relief and pride. He had faced an alien world, its challenges and its expectations, and he had not faltered. Humanity had been tested, and for the first time he felt that Zitharans might truly see the value in humans beyond fear, caution, or utility. The queen waved to him, signaling that the trial was over. The doors to the labyrinth opened, revealing the sky once more, the three suns now high above, casting brilliant light over the floating city. Elias stepped onto the open platform, feeling wind against his face, and the vastness of Zithara spread before him. Though exhausted, he felt exhilarated. Today had proven that courage, intelligence, and heart were universal measures of strength, and that humans, often underestimated, could rise to any challenge, even in a world as alien as Zithara. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Elias gazed at the palace in the distance. Somewhere inside, Queen Lyria and Princess Sira watched him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. He knew this was only the beginning of a longer journey. The true test of alliance and perhaps of friendship had yet to come, but for now, Elias had taken the first step. And he knew, deep in his heart, that humanity had already begun to leave its mark on Zithara. The sun rose on Zithara in a soft golden glow, its light catching on the crystal towers and floating gardens, turning the city into a world of shining colors. Elias Trask stood at the edge of the central plaza, his eyes scanning the platforms below. Today, Queen Lyria had promised he would face the next stage of the trial, a test of courage. He did not yet know what awaited him, but he could feel the tension in the air. Zithara was alive with expectation, and humans were still new to this world. Princess Sierra approached him, moving with the grace of someone who seemed to float above the ground. "Ambassador," she said softly, "today you will walk paths that test more than your body or mind. You will face challenges that measure courage, the ability to act when fear is strong and outcomes uncertain. Humans have a reputation for boldness. Today, you will show us if that boldness is wise as well." Elias nodded, swallowing the nervousness rising in his chest. He had faced the labyrinth of Zithra and passed its tests of intellect and empathy, but he knew courage would be different. Courage demanded action, and action often came without certainty. They began the journey from the central plaza, stepping onto a platform that extended over a vast canyon. Below, clouds swirled, and the edges of the platform disappeared into mist. A series of suspended bridges, some narrow, some twisting, led to the trial grounds. Each bridge moved slightly, responding to weight and motion. Elias' first step caused it to tilt gently, reminding him that balance and focus would be as important as bravery. "Keep your mind steady," Sierra advised, watching him with bright, curious eyes. "Fear is natural, but hesitation can be deadly." Elias took a deep breath and moved forward. His feet found the rhythm of the shifting platforms, his hands lightly brushing the crystalline railings for support. The bridges led him into an area where the environment itself seemed alive. Mist swirled around, and shapes appeared in the fog, some resembling creatures, others forms that were almost humanoid. At first, Elias' instincts screamed to run, but he remembered the lessons of the labyrinth. Fear alone could not guide him. He needed clarity, observation, and courage rooted in purpose. As he advanced, a sudden tremor shook the platform. A part of the bridge ahead tilted sharply, forming a steep incline. On the other side, a Zithran child stood frozen, seemingly unable to move across the precarious path. Elias knew instinctively what he had to do. Humans had a natural empathy, a drive to protect, and he channeled it now. He moved carefully, adjusting to the tilt of the platform, keeping his weight low and steady. Each step demanded focus. The wind swept around him, stronger now, and he could hear the distant hum of the city above, the rhythm of life continuing unaffected. He reached the child and extended a steady hand. "Follow me slowly," he instructed. "We will cross together." The child nodded, trusting him without hesitation. Elias guided it step by step, moving in harmony with the bridge's shifts. When they reached solid ground, a soft glow emanated from the path, indicating success. Elias felt a surge of relief and quiet pride. His courage, paired with compassion, had overcome the first real danger. They moved into a new section of the trial grounds, where the challenge shifted from physical peril to moral courage. Before him was a chamber filled with shimmering pools of water. At first, it seemed peaceful, but as Elias stepped closer, the pools reflected distorted images of himself, showing fear, doubt, and failure. The voices of unseen beings whispered of weaknesses, temptations to turn back, to take the easier path, to abandon the test. Elias froze for a moment, feeling the pull of doubt. This was a test of courage in its purest form, not to fight a creature or navigate a bridge, but to stand firm in the face of uncertainty. He remembered his purpose, the future of humanity's alliance with Zithra, the chance to demonstrate that humans could act wisely and bravely. He took a slow, deep breath and stepped into the first pool. The water rippled, reflecting not just fear but possibility. Step by step, he walked through the illusions, speaking quietly to himself. Courage is not absence of fear. Courage is action despite fear. With each step, the distorted reflections faded until he reached the other side, safe and unshaken. Beyond the pools lay the next trial, a series of floating platforms suspended above a chasm filled with mist. Between each platform were narrow gaps, and each step required precision and trust. As Elias began to cross, a platform tilted unexpectedly. Another gap opened where none had been before. The labyrinth was testing his ability to remain calm under pressure, to make choices quickly, and to act decisively. Elias adjusted, stepping lightly and focusing on balance. He noticed small glowing patterns on each platform, subtle indicators of the safest path. The Zithrans rewarded observation as much as courage. Moving carefully but without hesitation, he crossed the entire section. Finally, he reached the last stage of the trial, a chamber at the edge of the world. Here, a series of obstacles required not only courage but ingenuity. The paths ahead shifted constantly, and a Zitharan child floated helplessly on one platform, threatened by a sudden drop in elevation. Elias realized that this was a test of courage paired with intelligence and compassion. He approached slowly, calculating the safest path. When the child looked at him with wide eyes, Elias spoke gently. "I will get you across. Trust me." With careful steps, he guided the child along a shifting platform, moving in synchronization with its motions. The child's trust in him allowed him to anticipate changes and adjust, and together they reached safety. Princess Sira appeared suddenly at the entrance to the chamber. "You have shown courage, Ambassador," she said. "Many humans might act rashly, but you have combined bravery with wisdom. You have risked yourself not for glory, but for what is right." Elias bowed. "I have only acted as any human should, with purpose, careful thought, and respect for life." Princess Sira smiled faintly. "And that is why you are remarkable. Humans are often underestimated. You act with a mix of boldness and reflection. Zitharans are beginning to notice." Queen Lyria stepped forward, her presence commanding the entire chamber. "Elias Trask, you have faced the trial of courage with steadiness and honor. You have shown bravery in the face of danger, wisdom in the face of uncertainty, and compassion where it was needed most. These qualities, courage, intelligence, empathy, are rare among all species. Humans have demonstrated that they can rise to challenges even beyond expectation." Elias felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The trials had pushed him to his limits, testing every aspect of human character. He had faced fear, navigated the unknown, and acted selflessly when it mattered most. For the first time, he truly felt that humanity could be respected on Zithara not just for survival, but for qualities of heart and mind. The Queen's gaze softened, and she turned to him fully. "The trials are far from over, Ambassador, but today you have proven that humans possess strength beyond mere physicality or technology. Your courage is real, grounded in intellect and empathy. Zithara recognizes that." Elias straightened, his heart steady and proud. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to do all I can to honor your trust." The day ended with a quiet ceremony. The floating platforms of the trial grounds shimmered in the evening light, and the mist below reflected the three suns as they set. Elias gazed over the expanse, feeling the pulse of the city beneath him, the rhythm of life and expectation that Zitharans maintained so carefully. Princess Sira walked beside him for a moment. "Tomorrow, the trials will become even more demanding," she said softly. "You will face not only courage, but collaboration, strategy, and trust. Your actions today will shape the perceptions of your people and mine." Elias nodded. "Then I will be ready." As the sun set fully, painting the sky in violet and gold, Elias felt a sense of connection to Zithara that he had not expected. The planet was alien, vast, and overwhelming, yet it was alive with patterns, life, and meaning. The trials had tested his body and mind, but they had also shown him that humanity's greatest strengths lay in courage, tempered with wisdom, empathy, and reflection. And Elias knew that the real journey, the journey of building trust, understanding, and alliance, was only beginning. Tonight, the stars of Zithara glimmered brightly overhead. Tomorrow, he would face the next trial, but for the first time, Elias felt confident that humans had something truly unique to offer this alien world. The morning suns rose over Zithara, casting long shadows across the floating city, but the usual calm of the world was broken. Elias Trask, having completed the trial of courage, felt a tension in the air that was unlike anything he had sensed before. Birds, or creatures that resembled birds, glided nervously through the sky, and distant platforms vibrated slightly, as if the city itself were bracing for something unknown. Princess Sira met him at the central plaza. Her expression, usually composed and calm, carried a hint of worry. "Ambassador," she said, her voice low and urgent, "something is approaching Zithara. Sensors indicate a large fleet unknown ships heading for our world. They do not respond to communication." Elia's stomach tightened. Humanity had faced threats before, but Zithara was unprepared for direct attack. He followed Sira to the observation decks, where the fleet could be seen through transparent panels stretching hundreds of meters above the city. Hundreds of ships hovered in formation, dark and angular, moving with deliberate precision. They carried a presence of power and danger that was unmistakable. Queen Lyria soon appeared, her presence commanding the plaza. "Elias Trask," she said, her tone calm but edged with urgency. The fleet you see is a threat not only to Zithra but potentially to all neighboring systems. We have prepared defenses, but they are designed for conventional strategies. You are human. Humans have a way of thinking that is unpredictable. I seek your counsel. Elias nodded, heart pounding but mind focused. He had spent months preparing for diplomacy and strategy. Now action was required. Your Majesty, he said, I have experience coordinating complex operations under uncertainty. Perhaps our approach should combine Zitharan power with human unpredictability, tactics they cannot anticipate. Flexibility and improvisation might give us an advantage. Queen Lyria's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Explain your strategy. Elias pointed toward the fleet. They move in formation, predictable patterns. Zitharan defenses will respond as designed, but a human element can create disruption. Small, fast teams using unconventional maneuvers can create openings. Distraction, misdirection, and adaptation to unexpected events, that is where humans excel. The Queen considered him silently. Then, after a long pause, she nodded. Very well, humans will participate. You will command a contingent alongside our forces, but understand this, failure could cost lives and the future of this world. Elias felt the weight of responsibility, but he also felt a surge of determination. I understand, we will do our best. Preparations began immediately. Zitharan engineers and tacticians coordinated with human advisors. Elias worked closely with a team of pilots and strategists, explaining human methods while learning Zitharan technology. The humans marveled at Zitharan ships, which moved without engines, gliding on energy fields, and could perform maneuvers that would be impossible for conventional spacecraft. Yet despite the advantage of technology, Elias realized that predicting the fleet's movements would require creative thinking, not just raw power. Hours later, the fleet entered range of Zithara's defensive perimeter. The ships glinted in the light of the three suns, their sheer number imposing. Sensors indicated that the alien force was well-coordinated, aggressive, and heavily armed. Begin the plan, Elias instructed, speaking calmly but with authority. Use the main defensive lines to engage, but we will split teams into small units. Each will take unpredictable paths, targeting weak points we identify in real time. Trust your instincts. React quickly. Humans will adjust as needed. The first wave of Zitharan ships engaged the enemy, firing energy pulses that lit the sky like sparkling fireworks. Aliens in the fleet returned fire, striking with precision, but the humans had begun their maneuvers. Small ships darted from unexpected angles, weaving through gaps, confusing the enemy. Elias coordinated via holographic displays, directing units and issuing suggestions. He noticed a pattern in the enemy fleet, an over-reliance on formation and predictability. Using this, he guided small human Zitharan teams to exploit gaps, creating confusion and forcing the enemy to split their forces. Princess Sierra piloted one of the ships, moving with elegance and precision. She followed Elias' guidance while also adapting instinctively to threats. Your strategy works, she said over the comms. They cannot predict your moves. It is unlike anything Zitharans would normally attempt. Elias smiled faintly. Unpredictability is human nature. Sometimes the best advantage is the element of surprise. The battle intensified. Explosions lit the sky as alien ships fell, some captured, some destroyed. Human pilots performed daring maneuvers, weaving in and out of enemy fire, while Zitharan ships provided powerful support, creating openings for further strikes. It was a dance of strategy, courage, and quick thinking. At one critical moment, an alien cruiser broke formation and threatened to breach the city's perimeter. Elias assessed the situation quickly. Team Delta, intercept the cruiser from above while Team Gamma draws its attention with diversion. Use energy pulses to disable its navigation. Focus on disabling, not destroying. We want control, not chaos. The teams followed his instructions perfectly. Within minutes, the cruiser was disabled, hovering helplessly as Zitharan forces moved to secure it. Elias exhaled quietly. The human contribution had turned the tide at a critical moment. Queen Lyria observed from the command tower, her expression unreadable. After the immediate threat subsided, she turned to Elias. Humans are remarkable. Your species' ability to act creatively under pressure, to adapt to unknown variables, these qualities are rare. You have saved lives today and given Zithara an advantage it might not have achieved alone. Elias shook his head modestly. We acted together. Humans and Zitherans both contributed. If we had relied only on one method, the outcome might have been different. Princess Sierra appeared beside him, her expression bright. You have shown courage, intelligence, and leadership. Today, humans have proven that your species' value is more than we anticipated. The fleet's retreat will be remembered. Elias glanced back at the alien ships as they moved away, distant now, their threat diminished. It was clear that the battle was not the end. Other dangers might come. But for the first time, humans had proven themselves as partners, not just observers. As the city settled back into its rhythm, Elias and Princess Sierra walked along the observation platforms. You have earned respect, she said quietly, but there is more to come. Zithra is vast, and not all challenges can be faced with courage alone. The next stage will test how humans and Zitherans can work together over time with trust and mutual understanding. Elias nodded. I am ready. Humanity has faced the unknown before, and we have survived because we adapt and learn. Together, we can achieve more than either species alone. Princess Sierra smiled. That is what I hoped you would say. Your actions today show that humans are capable of great things, not just in technology or strength, but in thinking, planning, and acting with heart. You have proven that courage, combined with wisdom, can change the outcome of even the most difficult situations. The three suns began to set, casting warm hues across the floating city. Platforms shimmered, waterfalls glowed, and the energy of Zithra pulsed gently beneath their feet. For Elias, the sight was a reminder of why he had come, not just to negotiate, but to show that humanity had something unique to offer, a combination of courage, creativity, and empathy that could bridge worlds. Queen Lyria's voice spoke again, quiet but firm. Elias Trask, you have faced not only physical danger but the chaos of the unknown. You have acted decisively with honor and foresight. Humans have shown qualities that Zitherans must recognize, qualities that could make your species valuable allies in times to come. Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. The battle had been dangerous, unpredictable, and exhausting, but it had confirmed something he had always believed. Humanity's greatest strengths lay not only in tools and technology, but in the courage to act when circumstances demanded, the intelligence to adapt, and the empathy to protect others. Princess Sierra looked at him one last time before they returned to the palace. Tomorrow, the trials will test trust and collaboration. You have proven courage, Ambassador. Soon, you will show how humans can work together not only with each other, but with us. Elias nodded. We will do everything we can. Humanity is ready to learn, to adapt, and to help. As the suns disappeared beneath the horizon, the floating city of Zithra glimmered with life, a beacon of possibility. The alien fleet had retreated, but the lessons of the day were clear. Humans had faced fear, uncertainty, and a threat unlike any they had ever encountered, and they had succeeded not through strength alone, but through courage, intelligence, and heart. For the first time, Elias felt that Zithra truly understood what humans could offer. The cosmic threat had been more than a challenge, it had been proof. And as night fell, stars sparkling above the city, he knew that the next trial would push humanity's qualities even further, testing collaboration, strategy, and trust in ways no one could yet imagine. The journey was far from over, but for now, humanity had left a mark on Zithra. The suns of Zithra rose in a gentle golden light, washing the floating city in warmth. Elias Trask stood on a balcony overlooking the grand palace gardens. The city hummed with life, but this morning felt different, still almost reverent. After days of trials, battles, and tests, the humans had proven their courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Today was the moment of true understanding. Today, Queen Lyria would know if humanity could be trusted, not just in action, but in heart. Princess Sierra approached quietly. She moved like a breeze over the terraces, her eyes reflecting curiosity, respect, and something softer, something human Elias thought he could recognize. Ambassador, she said softly, the Queen wishes to speak with you. Alone. She has a question only you can answer honestly. Elias nodded, following her into the inner palace chambers. The walls shimmered with flowing light, and the floors reflected the sky above, making the room seem infinite. Queen Lyria waited near a pool of still water that mirrored her calm but commanding presence. Ambassador Elias Trask, the Queen began, her voice steady, you have faced our trials with courage, intellect, and empathy. You have acted wisely where others might have failed. You have led, saved lives, and demonstrated the strengths of your species. Yet now I ask a question not of ability or bravery, but of heart. Elias swallowed, sensing the weight of her words. He had prepared for negotiation, strategy, and diplomacy, but this was different. This was a question of trust, of sincerity, of understanding beyond skill. The queen's gaze softened and her voice lowered. "Do you desire my daughter?" For a moment the world seemed to still. Elias' mind raced, not with fear but with thoughtfulness. This question was more than personal, it was symbolic, a test of integrity and perspective. The wrong answer could offend, misunderstand, or manipulate. The right answer could show respect, wisdom, and understanding. Elias looked at Princess Sira. She did not speak, but her eyes reflected patience, curiosity, and subtle challenge. He realized that the question was not about possession or desire in a superficial sense. It was about respect, honor, and understanding the agency of another being. He spoke slowly, deliberately, choosing words that reflected thought as well as heart. "Your Majesty," he began, "I do not approach this question with desire in the way one might think of ownership or possession. I respect Princess Sira as her own person, intelligent, capable, and independent. If there is a bond between us, it will be built on mutual respect, understanding, and partnership, not as a prize or expectation." Queen Lyria's eyes widened slightly, and for a moment the silence was profound. Elias could feel the weight of centuries of tradition, authority, and expectation in the room. Then, slowly, a tear formed in the corner of the queen's eye. "You speak honestly," she said softly, her voice trembling with something between relief and emotion. "You see my daughter not as a tool, not as a reward, but as a being worthy of choice. Humans, you have shown qualities that Zitherans rarely witness. Your courage, your intellect, your empathy, and now, your respect." Princess Sira stepped forward, her gaze bright and warm. "Ambassador, I have watched you through every trial," she said. "You have faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, yet you have acted with thoughtfulness and compassion. You have proven that humans are not only capable, but honorable. That is rare." Elias felt a mixture of humility and pride. He had come to Zithera not to impress, but to represent humanity faithfully. And now, in the most personal and profound way, he saw that his actions and the character of his species had been recognized. Queen Lyria moved closer, her hand resting lightly on the edge of the reflective pool. "Elias Trask, humans are different from what I expected. You are bold, resourceful, and capable of great deeds, but more than that, you act with understanding and heart. Today, you have shown that humanity is a species worthy of trust, not only for battle or diplomacy, but in partnership, in life, and in choice." Elias nodded, speechless for a moment. He felt the magnitude of what she was saying. Not only had humans been accepted as allies, but their unique qualities had been seen and honored. Princess Sira extended her hand toward him. "If our bond is to grow," she said, "it must be mutual. Respect, trust, and understanding must guide it, and I believe you have shown that humanity is capable of such bonds." Elias took her hand gently, understanding fully the weight and meaning of this gesture. "I will honor that trust," he said. "Not for reward, not for expectation, but because it is right. Humanity can offer courage, wisdom, and respect, and I will strive to do so faithfully." The queen's gaze softened further. Tears formed in her eyes, now unhidden. "You have spoken truthfully, and that truth is rare among visitors. Your species has shown strength beyond the physical or technological. You have demonstrated moral courage, the ability to act rightly with awareness and heart. That is the mark of a species I can respect and trust." Elias felt a warmth in his chest, not from pride alone, but from the recognition of humanity itself. For the first time, an alien civilization, ancient and wise, had seen what humans could offer. Not just tools, technology, or cunning, but qualities deeper than that. Empathy, courage, respect, and intelligence combined. Princess Sira smiled, her eyes reflecting the suns above the city. "Ambassador, I think we have much to learn from each other, not only in battle or diplomacy, but in understanding, growth, and friendship." Elias nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Humans had often been underestimated, their value measured only by material strength or ingenuity. But today, in this alien world, it was clear. Humanity's greatest strengths lay in heart, mind, and spirit. Queen Lyria turned away from the pool, her composure returning, though her eyes were still glistening. "Elias Trask, you have completed the trials. Humans have proven their worth not by force, but by courage, intelligence, and morality. I welcome your species as allies, and perhaps as friends. Let this day mark the beginning of a partnership that may shape the future of not only Zithra, but the galaxy itself. Elias bowed deeply. Your Majesty, on behalf of humanity, I accept your trust and friendship. We will honor it. As the day passed, ceremonies of recognition were held. Zitherans gathered to acknowledge the humans' contributions to the trials, to the defense of the city, and to the building of trust. The humans, though humble, felt a deep pride, knowing that their species' values, courage, intelligence, and empathy were now recognized across a civilization older and wiser than Earth. Elias spent the afternoon speaking privately with Princess Sierra. They walked along the crystal terraces, watching the sunlight dance over the gardens. Your people are remarkable, Sierra said. You think quickly, act decisively, and yet consider others. Zitherans do not always possess such balance. Elias smiled faintly. We have had to survive in a world full of challenges. Perhaps that is why humans are adaptable. But we still have much to learn from you, from Zithra, and from the universe itself. Sierra nodded. Then perhaps this is only the beginning, not only for you, but for all of humanity. There is much to build together and much to understand. The suns of Zithra began to set, casting a glow of violet, gold, and pink across the floating city. In that light, Elias felt a connection not only to Princess Sierra and Queen Lyria, but to Zithra itself. The planet, alive with energy, color, and intelligence, had tested humanity, and humanity had risen to the challenge. Queen Lyria's voice came from behind him, soft and solemn. Elias Trask, you have shown that humanity is more than a species of survival. You act with wisdom, courage, and heart. That is rare, and it brings tears to one who has seen centuries pass without encountering such honesty and strength. Elias turned, meeting her eyes. He saw the truth in them. Years of caution, expectation, and judgment had been replaced by understanding and trust. In that moment, he knew humanity's place in Zithra was secure, not because of technology or power, but because of values that transcended species. Princess Sierra placed a hand on his shoulder. Tomorrow, we continue our work, she said. But tonight, know that humanity has made a mark here, not as conquerors, not as visitors, but as equals worthy of respect and friendship. Elias felt the weight of that truth, and he smiled. Then we will not disappoint. Humans will honor this trust now and always. The suns disappeared behind the horizon, and the stars of Zithra emerged in the sky, sparkling brightly above the city. Elias Trask stood quietly, watching the light shimmer across the floating platforms, gardens, and waterfalls. In that moment he felt hope, not only for himself or for humanity, but for a future shared with a world that had once seemed impossible to understand. And for the first time, Elias realized that humanity's greatest strength was not just in survival, but in its ability to act with courage, wisdom, and heart, even among the stars. The queen, the princess, and the ambassador stood together, three beings from different worlds, united by respect, understanding, and hope. The trials were complete, but the journey, the partnership, the friendship, and the alliance was only beginning. In the quiet of the evening, Queen Lyria wiped away a tear, her voice soft. Humans, you are extraordinary, and now I see what I did not expect. Elias Trask looked at her, then at Princess Sierra and at the stars above Zithra. We will honor this trust, he said. With courage, with heart, and with respect. And for the first time in a world far from Earth, humans were seen not as fragile, not as limited, but as a species capable of greatness in every sense that mattered.